boy Deej back for another Sunday's aftermath. Here alone in the moment, it is absolutely crazy trying to put these shows together with everybody in different time zones and getting everybody on the same page. But hopefully, we can get several of you people watching and joining us being part of the conversation. So, here's something that we're going to try today, see how it works. We're going to try adding Skype into this arena of boxing discussion today. So we've got the Addy here. It's TMG based, Brandon. So you're gonna have TMG Deej. Gonna look for TMG Deej TMG on Skype and add me on Skype, and let's see if we can get you up into the live stream. So incredible night of boxing yesterday. So much to unpack. Obviously, Lomachenko getting the win. Who didn't see that one come in from a mile away? But what a hard competitive fight. Was that the most competitive fight that we've seen Lomachenko win in over 10 fights? Now, have we just seen the blueprint of how to be Lomachenko? Obviously, there's some other fights that we need to discuss. Buatsi getting his win. Where do we see him in the light heavyweight division at the moment? Now he gets the KO under controversial circumstances. Also, we need to talk about the Charlie Edwards no contest. Was it a good call? Was it the right call? Did it seem a little bit underhand that that decision was just made right then and there? I must admit, I was pretty shocked just to see it all being packed right in front of our eyes, where you feel like something's gone amiss and the referees missed it, but they've called this one a no contest pretty darn quickly. So also the heavyweights, Huey Fury beaten again by Povetkin. Where do these guys go after this win and this loss, respectively? Was it the right result? Is Huey Fury doing enough to become a player in the heavyweight division? Does he need to add a couple of more moves to his repertoire to make him more formidable than opponent? Now, all these questions to unpack, lots to talk about here. Also, where do Lomachenko, what's his next move? Does he unify the division? Who's likely to step up to the plate to go and take those titles away from him? Is he beatable at the moment? Were all these comparisons to Lomachenko being up there with the all-time greats warranted? You know, so lots to talk about today. So hopefully we can get through all of those things. I like to keep these shows within the hour. When there's no one to really bounce your thoughts and your ideas against, I kind of try to chop these ones up a little bit shorter as well. So, yeah, let's get into this. So, yep, we've got the Skype ID up. Add Deej and TMG on Skype to join the conversation. You can call me into the chat at any time, and we can just bounce and chop this thing up. So, where to begin? So, Lomachenko and Campbell, obviously, and they put on the main event. They put on this fight, which many of us boxing fanatics kind of earmarked as not being a real competitive fight. I think we were mildly surprised of how competitive the fight was. Now, let's not get things twisted. It was a shutout on the cards. Lomachenko was a comfortable winner, but Campbell posed some major questions that Lomachenko needed to answer yesterday. That was how he would deal with somebody who had a fair bit of speed, who could keep the sort of distance away from Lomachenko. Um, you know, how Lomachenko deals when he's hit to the body as well. You know, Campbell made it really difficult for Lomachenko in there at times. And the magical magician of a fighter that we know Lomachenko to be, we didn't actually see a lot of his wizardry last night in regards to getting in there close, changing the angles, confusing his opponents, um, disappearing um, underneath an arm and turning up at the other side of the opponent and all sorts of things. We weren't seeing that Lomachenko yesterday. We were seeing what was a more controlled, um, savvy, careful, and I think that's shown. Campbell definitely has a good shot at coming back and giving Lomachenko a run for his money in the future if he takes a couple of fights away from this to get himself barely prepared for this sort of fighter. It was a hard task for him to go up against this sort of fighter, especially at the peak of his powers. No shame in losing to Lomachenko. It's such a shame for Campbell because I believe if he fought any other champion in any other period of time yesterday, I believe he probably would have won a title. But such is life. Lomachenko is way on top of his game at the moment, way at the top of his game. I think when we see him fight other people, he's going to look that much more impressive as well. So yeah, it's just one of those things. It's interesting though, in contrast to last week's Anthony Yard fight, where we saw two Brits fight two people from the Russian subcontinent, um, both get beat, and the sort of reaction that the general public has in regards to where people went wrong. With the Kovalev fight with Yard, there's been a lot of criticism of Anthony Yard's attitude, the attitude of his camp, his manager, etc. Not being prepared, all that sort of stuff. As well as the pats on the back saying that he's a great fighter and he'll come back, etc., etc. What I think we're seeing with Campbell at the moment is less of the criticism against him and his team, and just an exception that Lomachenko is actually that special of a fighter. Now, admittedly, when people were talking about the other greats, putting them next to the Lomachenko name, um, I honestly cringed a little bit in regards to some of the things I was hearing on the British telecast. People were like comparing him to the likes of Muhammad Ali and saying that he belongs in the same sort of sentence, etc., etc. And honestly, he's a great fighter. I don't really concur with these ideas so far. I think he's definitely one fighter to watch out for. I definitely think that he's going on to bigger and better things in his career. But I I don't know. I don't think you could really put him up amongst the greats until you see the longevity of their career, who they fight, what they can actually achieve in the sport. I mean, Lomachenko, he's barely fought. Well, I don't think he's even fought 15 people yet. So, yeah, anyone could look special in that amount of time. The fact that he's taken out other fighters on the top of the pound for pound list, like the Rigan does and such, does seem impressive. But let's give the guy some time. Let's give the guy some time. Let's figure out what he's actually made out of. Also, in regards to Campbell, I think Campbell is one of these brilliant prospects in boxing. Does he need to stay around in that division, move on, or just gain some more experience? Because I think the Lomachenko fight isn't quite winnable for him anytime soon. I think for him to beat Lomachenko, he needs a little bit more time, a little bit more experience. But I think if anybody can beat Lomachenko and frustrate him, it would be Campbell in a rematch. He did look pretty good yesterday, I must admit. But let's chop this crap up a little bit more. I mean, one of my favorite fights on this card was the heavyweights. I'm a guy who loves my heavyweights as well. So the Huey Fury DAZN debut versus Povetkin really stood out as a fight I was really interested in as well. So very interesting on the live show because I was chopping it up with some people online in regards to who they thought would win the fight, etc. And there was no real consensus of whether people thought Huey Fury would win or Povetkin would win. I was firmly pinned to the idea that Povetkin was going to win this fight, mainly because Povetkin is just so much more an aggressive fighter. And now, in the aftermath of Huey Fury losing another shutout, we've got some real questions to answer about Huey Fury. I mean, he's got the movement. He's definitely got one of the best chins in the heavyweight division. But for some reason, he just cannot muster a flurry of punches or punches which are going to give his opponents the respect to actually keep people off him. He gets backed into corners, and there's no rope doping, there's no punching your way out of it. Some of the stuff that he needs in his repertoire, the kid just hasn't got, unfortunately. At some point, as a heavyweight, you should be able to throw blows which your opponent has ample amount of respect for, to the point where they don't want to engage so closely. They're careful. And I feel this is what we don't really see in Huey Fury fights when he comes against this elitish sort of level. The likes of Parker, Povetkin, Pulev will very happily walk through fire to get him pinned up against some sort of ropes and unleash some powerful shots on the guy. And a lot of these blows seem like they're really unanswered or very poorly answered. So to be honest, it's very tough for me to favor Huey Fury in these elite level fights to actually become a favorite, or just to back him to actually win them, even to part with my money in regards to backing the guy. Very tough. Huey Fury reminds me of a guy working on a door who just doesn't want to lose his license. He's very good at moving around, manipulating the opponent to move into a certain way. But when it comes to tearing it up and having a fight, he just does not like to throw. And if you feel like Huey Fury does like to throw, the perception of the person watching the action, it makes it look like the guy isn't interested. He's not there to see, what looks like some physical violent action. It's a bit of a shame for the guy, but I don't know. It just seems like a long, endless string of people saying, "Do you know what? He's young. He'll come back." I mean, how many fights is this guy going to have, and people are just going to dismiss them as he's young and he'll come back? I really don't think that he's actually going places at heavyweight, to be honest. I don't know if he can make cruiserweight, but it looks really difficult in there for him. I think at cruiserweight he could become an elite, but he just does not have that respectable punching power to keep these guys off him, to keep them at a distance. It's okay. You go out in the first round feigning a lot of punches, and it looks nice to begin with. But Pulev is used to fighting these big fighters. What he intended to do was, it looked like what he, went out to do. It was very good to actually survive that fight. I thought Pulev had a good chance of knocking the guy out, but that chin is absolute granite. So respect to Huey Fury for that. But let's face facts. He was there to win a fight, not to prove how wonderful his chin was. So yeah, just one of those things, I suppose. So other than that, Josh Buatsi. Yep, Joshua Buatsi. He has a run out, coincidentally, 1 week after his rival on BT loses to Kovalev. So, wow, what can I say about Buatsi? They're trying to build him up, bit of a time. And I feel like this was a tough fight for him. He got the guy out of there, but it looked a little bit controversial. I don't know what the feedback of that, KO is going to be, because from what I understand, people were saying that it actually looked like some sort of low blow took place. I really don't know if people are going to feel that aggrieved. I thought Buatsi was definitely going to win the fight. I thought before the fight happened, he was going to win the fight by KO. That was a KO that we got. I don't know if anybody else felt robbed watching it, but it is what it is. It is what it is. The talk about whether he's better than Yard or not, I think is irrelevant. We can put that well on the back foot and start to think about how Buatsi needs to be built. He's going to need definitely a few more fights before we can consider him the peers of the elites at light heavyweight. I think if we've learned anything recently, that experience is key. But they're stepping them up better the time. These fights are getting tougher and harder, and we're learning a lot more about him. He did get hit a good couple of times last night, and what an acid test. So, also, yes, Edwards. Wow. Okay, so could someone explain to me what exactly happened? Because this fight was ruled a no contest extremely quickly, and I don't kind of know who made the call. So Edwards, he gets hit um, on the floor after he gets floored. What seems to be some sort of low punch. He gets hit on the floor as well. Win is declared, and before you know it, a no contest is ruled pretty darn quickly after. There's a little bit of a replay shown. Sullivan from the WBC is there. The fight gets ruled a no contest, and it's kind of like, wow, who did that? Who actually pushed people to actually look at the footage and make that? The judges, did that come from the WBC? It all seems to be a little bit of a mess. I wish I was part of a team to just figure out who did what and where, because if the WBC had something to do with making this fight a no decision, how quickly was that done? And what do the other government bodies make of this? Because let's face facts: if somebody has a fight, even if it's for the one title, it does affect how these other fighters are viewed by the other sanctioning bodies, whether it's a win, a loss, or draw. So when something gets scratched from the record books, just like it did yesterday, I'm there scratching my head, and it seems like one of the governing bodies is involved, which I could be totally wrong. Let's face facts, but it kind of seemed like Sullivan being there, with the WBC, actually acted as the catalyst for this decision to be made. So I'm wondering what we're looking at here, and how does that actually affect the other, governing bodies? If that's the case, how powerful are they? Is that realistically what we're looking at here? A scenario where other people can push the narratives of justice as they see fit. Nobody likes seeing anybody get robbed, but look, that's looks like that's what happened there. So yeah, it was a crazy, brilliant night of boxing. A lot of things were coming out, a lot of rumors, a lot of news was coming out. Interestingly enough, it seems like two YouTubers, popular YouTubers on the boxing scene, KSI and Logan Paul, have signed some sort of deal with Eddie Hearn to promote their next fight. And not only have they signed a deal, these two are making professional debuts. That is huge. That is huge. That is huge. I'm not quite sure what the ins and outs and the full details of this is going to be, but I imagine these two guys fight at cruiserweight, likes of KSI and Logan Paul. But what's interesting as well is established boxers like Billy Joe Saunders are being taunted as being the fighters which are going to prop up their undercard. So the likes of KSI and Logan Paul, their fight is absolutely huge. It's got to be one of the biggest money makers in boxing. And today, I don't know where they will fight, but whether it be in the States, whether it be in the UK, I'd imagine they might want to fight in the States because of the previous fight being in the UK. But there's a lot of money to be made out of these YouTube boxers. Incredible, really. But do you know, how do you feel about that? That's crazy. But I don't know. So a bit of a quiet one this Sunday on the reaction show. I was hoping for a lot more interaction, especially you're there hoping for at least the co-host to turn up, but it hasn't happened. It is what it is, and we move on and look forward to next week. But yeah, I'm gonna wrap this one up. Join us on Facebook. Join us on Facebook. Our community is growing, just under 7,000 people at the moment. Hopefully we'll get to them by next week. So yeah, keep it coming. All right, guys. See you soon.